everybody. This is Susan Givens. I am the publisher of AutoSuccess, and we have two very special guests with us today. We have Monica Utter. She is the dealer at Bill Utter Ford, and we have Bailee Utter, marketing director at Bill Utter Ford. Welcome, ladies. Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for having us.
Well, I know that you guys have a long history in the automotive industry, and I really kind of want to jump in and, get to what makes your customers love you and keep coming back, and for you to have such a great reputation in Texas. So, Monica, let's start off with you. You started your career at Bill Utter Ford in 1995, and you have been part of the dealership's growth ever since. What has it been like watching the business evolve while still holding on to those original family values?
Well, I think the business has just really evolved through all of the different management styles that we've had. My father-in-law started it in 1956. And so the values that he instilled were then taught to my husband, Bill Utter Jr., who started working here at 14. And then, like you said, I started working here in 1995, which he was still here at that time. So we worked under his tutelage for quite a while. And he taught us just what his principles and values were that he wanted us to carry on. But then we were able to put our special little twist by being here every day, seeing the customers, learning how we thought the business was evolving, but still holding on to those values that he started it with back in 1956. So I think being here every day, learning the employees, learning kind of the customers and their needs and wants has really been pretty special for us, and been able to get us to the 70 year that we've made it to.
Speaking of special, there is a very special video on your website, billutterford.com, under the About Us. If, after we do this interview, our audience wants to jump on and take a look, it's super interesting. And you may spot a young Bailee in that. So Bailee.
I think you will, yes. And we were very early on bringing Bailee and our son Trey into the business as just sort of, we put them in a lot of marketing videos and just really tried to instill that whole family owned and operated feel that everybody, I think still looks for today in car purchasing. And we're one of the few that are still out there, family owned and operated. A lot of them have been purchased by big corporate groups. And so we really wanted to really zero in on that whole family owned and operated. And we brought the kids in very early. So she was very exposed early on. So
yes. Yeah, I'm sure people walk in and they know exactly who you are before you knew who they are first. So,
or I saw you up. Or
sometimes, I think my first commercial, I was 2 years old, and they put me on one of the boards that slide under the vehicles to repair it. And I had a wrench in my hand, and they're like, "Hey, I remember that commercial from 20 years ago." And I'm like, "Oh man." So yeah.
Well, and funny story with that, they were like, "Mom, how are we going to get her to look where we want her to look underneath the tire?" You got this little 2-year-old rolling under a car. And so we put her favorite stuffed animal in the tire. The technician came up with that idea, Jeff Bolin at the time. Yeah. He came up with that idea. He said, "Let's put her little stuffed animal." So we did, and she was looking for her animal in that video. So it was pretty funny.
Well, you're now part of the next generation carrying the Utter family. So growing up around the dealership, I'm sure you learned a lot of lessons about leadership and customer relationships. What stood out to you most?
I think just the people. My grandfather, I always go back to this quote, Bill Utter Sr. He always said, "We're not in the car business, we're in the people business." And so just really focusing on the relationships that you're building with people, and realizing that car buying is usually the second largest purchase after a home for most people. And it can be an emotional decision, a very important decision for most families. And so we're just here to form a relationship with you and be your one-stop shop for all of your auto needs. And I think I learned that from a very, very young age.
I agree. I couldn't agree with you more. And I feel like, that's something that's never going to change, like the people business. You're always going to want to know the people, always going to want to know and help. And that's going to keep your customers coming back every year. So Bill Utter Ford has built a reputation around treating employees and customers like family. Earlier, you even talked about the technician that came up with the idea of the stuffed animal. So you can tell that you guys are a close-knit bunch. How do you work? How do you both work to maintain that culture as the industry continues to change every day?
Well, I think we always try to recognize major, Christmas, holidays. We always try to have holiday parties, gatherings. Our 70th anniversary party that we had a lot of employee input in that. So I think just really bringing them in and trying to get their input of what they would do if this dealership was named by them, their name. And so we try to really encourage open policy of talking. They can say whatever, and we're pretty open. We won't do all of them, but we can't do all of them. But we try to really include them. I think including, and that's one of the biggest things I think we do. Would you agree with that, Bailee? That we include the
Yes.
employees quite a bit?
We have a newer generation of employees who are coming in, and I think we do a really great job of investing in those employees and really learning what their strengths and maybe weaknesses are and where they fit best in the puzzle, and really invest in training them and getting their feedback and their ideas, as well as our longer tenured employees. We want everyone to feel like they have an opinion and a voice, and that they can come. It's an open door policy at any time. So I do think it's very fun to see the friendships too that we have between some of our maybe younger employees and our older employees. It just, everyone kind of is a big family here. So I think that's helped us be where we are today.
And I think that reflects on your customers coming into the dealership. They see the same friendly faces. They see, everybody getting along. And that does make a customer want to keep coming back, and it makes them feel part of the family as well.
Absolutely.
Yes, of course.
So Monica, the dealership has employees who've been there for decades. What do you think makes people stay and build long-term careers at Bill Utter Ford? I know you said like open door policy, but what else do you think is really keeping your team there and in it for the long run?
One of the big things is trust. I think that they trust me. I think they trust that I'm going to be pretty consistent in my expectation. I think that they know what to expect from me. They know that I'm pretty consistent about being here almost on an daily basis. So I think they have trust in me, and I have given them my trust that they know how to do their job. So I would say that. I also would say consistency in management meetings that we have and different things that we do. They know what to expect. So that's what I would say. I would say trust is one of the big things.
Bailee, as a younger professional entering the automotive industry, what do you think dealerships can do better to attract and retain the next generation, especially women?
Yes, absolutely. I really started doing social media videos for the dealership. I didn't know out of college if I was interested at first. And they asked me like, hey, like you're good at making TikToks and Instagram videos. Why don't you come do that? And I tried it, and instantly, I think, got the bug, I call it, where you just fall in love with everything. It's such a fast-paced environment here, and every day it's changing. And so I really liked that no 2 days were the same, and I found my way there. But one thing I originally, when I first came in, thought that dealerships all around could improve on were transparency and simplicity, specifically on their websites, which is something we have really focused on here, is how to make everything convenient, seamless, and just customer friendly. Because especially as a woman, I feel like I don't know the most about, cars. I mean, I don't know all the transmission and engine and all the specs that everyone, there's car people out there that know more than I do, but
your attention to detail has been a huge asset.
Attention to detail, and just making things simple for customers, because particularly my generation, I believe our attention span is like
Very small.
so small that if we can't get the information that we're looking for very quickly, you lose that customer. So that's something we've really focused on, is how can we make things absolutely seamless. And I think that has really helped us, as well as we've also started doing some more things that kind of appeal to the ladies in terms of we wrap a lot of pink Broncos here, and we have seen so much success with the pink Broncos because we're getting teenage girls who are asking their dads if they can have a pink Bronco, or wives who are telling their husbands, hey, you need to go to Bill Utter Ford, they have pink Broncos. And we've been shipping them nationwide. So that's been extremely successful for us, and just figuring out ways that you can appeal to all your customers, not just maybe the car knowledgeable customers. So
Well, pink Bronco sounds super fun.
yes.
And we've actually also gone viral on our TikToks.
Yes.
You know, we have had a lot of success with the TikTok. And I think at first some of the older sales managers were thinking that wasn't going to be a way that we were going to sell cars. So then we actually ended up spiffing the marketing girls for, if they sold a car off of TikTok, we were going to give them a little mini spiff on doing it. And then now the sales, or at first it was buying lunch, right?
Yes, at first they had to buy us lunch if we sold a car off of TikTok. Then we started getting a lot of leads and sales off of TikTok, believe it or not. So now
they're a believer.
Yes, everyone's bought in now.
So how do we find these TikToks?
You can just go search for Bill Utter Ford right on TikTok, and it should come up. You might even search pink Bronco, and we could come up.
Oh, wow.
So
okay.
Yes.
Well, I think we can all learn something from that. Social media changes every single day, and how do we stay on top of that? So definitely where we need to go and research a little bit more. The dealership is always focused on helping customers find the right vehicle and financing for their needs. How has the customer experience changed over the years, and what do you think customers value most today?
I think they value transparency. Transparency is probably number one, which kind of goes back with what I was saying about trust with the employees. When they have trust with us, that is also trust that we are gaining with our customers as well. We have generations of customers who've been buying here, grandparents and parents, and now their children. And it's so fun to see the generation of families that come through here, which mirrors the generation of the ownership that we have. So I think transparency, I think ease of doing a car deal, I think the quickness of coming in the dealership. People do not want to be at a dealership for 3 and 4 hours. We had an interview earlier today, and the girl that was doing the interview just recently bought a car. And one of the things she said was that she was there until midnight. I was like, oh my goodness. And she said, I did not enjoy my car buying experience. And I am always talking about that. Every manager's meeting, I'm talking about the customers are the reasons that we're here. We're here to serve them. We need to keep that in our forethought of our mind and be customer thinking every day. I enforce the 10-foot rope rule. When you see someone, please say hello. If you're within 10 feet or less of them, please offer them water. Treat them as if they're in your home, because this is your work home. And so we talk about that a lot. So I think that, everyone is always uptight and a little nervous when they're coming to buy a car. As Bailee stated earlier, it's the second biggest purchase behind a home. And so people are spending their hard-earned money to purchase wheels and transportation for their family to get them from point A to point B. So they're already tense. And then they're certainly tense when they come in for service. They don't know how long they're going to be without their vehicle. What is wrong with their vehicle? How much out-of-pocket expense that's going to be. So they're already tense. So let's do everything we can to bring down the level of anxiety that they may have, or the thoughts that they may have. And let's make it as much of a fun experience for them to spend that kind of money, because it is. Through COVID, we remained open. It was an essential business deemed by the government, essential business. And I think we are essential for families, getting them all from point A to point B, whether that you're kid to dance class, your son to basketball, driving to work every day to provide for your family. We are essential. So let's make it as easy and less stressful as we can. So I think that's big.
I couldn't
Yeah.
agree more. Yes. And that keeps
Yeah.
people coming back. So
Coming
I
back.
have one final question for you all. For women watching
Okay.
this series who may be considering a career in automotive retail, what advice would you give them about building confidence and finding their place in this industry?
Be as organized as possible. And I know that sounds very interesting, but I touched a little bit earlier on, like myself, I don't maybe know all of the specs and all of the details that
Product knowledge.
another sales representative may have been studying for years and years. But if I can be as organized as possible and know what my strengths are and what I bring to the table, I think that has given me confidence over the last 2 years. It inspires more women to feel comfortable of just find what your strengths are. I know for me, mine is being organized and paying attention to details and keeping things on track. But just find whatever your strength is. And I guarantee that you will find your place in the dealership, no matter if it's what you originally thought you would do in the dealership. So I think that gives me confidence as I identified basically what I thought my strength was, and now I can use it to help others on our team.
Mm-hmm. I think I would say too, communication. The way that you communicate with some of the guys that have been in this business for a very long time is very different from the way you would communicate with Bailee, right? So I think communicating with them, being open to hear them, acknowledging that you hear them, and then also asking for them to look at it in maybe a different way. Or as a female buyer, have you thought about XYZ, whatever the case may be that you're talking about. So I think opening their eyes to seeing it a little differently, but also validating how they have always done it. And being willing to just communicate with them in a different way and compromise.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So bringing a softer touch to the way they've always done it is probably a little bit of a secret recipe that I have used, is just, being open to listening to them, but validating, but then asking them to look at it in a different way.
Thank you, Bailee. Thank you, Monica. You've given us plenty of tips and tricks to be able to kind of apply at our dealerships. And we just appreciate what you're doing for this industry. And thank you for taking the time to talk with me today.
Oh, thank you for asking us.